Hello and welcome to the Digital Insight, the technology and supply chain podcast that delivers valuable C-level perspective into the core issues surrounding business transformation and digital disruption. Each episode will bring you the most inspiring executive insights from those leading transformation strategies within the world's biggest and best-known companies. The Digital Insight. Disrupt, transform, evolve.
Welcome to the Digital Insight, the exclusive podcast series for Interface and CPO Strategy magazines. Today we're joined by Craig Stewart, Vice President of Product Management at SnapLogic, an enterprise integration platform as a service built to connect big data, cloud and on-premise apps. Today we'll be addressing how tech can provide some of the solutions to the global skills gap in this space. So Craig, welcome to the Digital Insight.
Sure. So I'm Craig Stewart, and I am SVP of Product at SnapLogic. So I look after our product management and product marketing teams, and have actually been with SnapLogic for something over 8 years now, and have actually been looking after the platform in product management since we brought it to market back in 2013. And I've been in the integration space and application development, data and integration now for many years. I was with Oracle prior to SnapLogic, and one of the big drivers back in 2011 when I joined SnapLogic was this whole new thing of the cloud was actually making a difference to the enterprise world. And back in those days, for the Oracle world, the cloud was just somebody else's computer running in their data center. There was nothing different about the cloud. Having experienced it firsthand with Oracle's customers, it was obvious that was not the case, and so we needed to be doing something different. And that what led me to join Gaurav at SnapLogic, because the vision that the business world had changed, and the computing paradigm had changed, or was changing. The paradigm had changed, and the enterprise was adapting to it. I think we see that change continuing to happen now. Not only is the cloud providing the infrastructure on demand and those things, but it's also now able to provide a degree of power on demand that is demanded of things like the AI and machine learning world, and it's that power on demand has become available, and the corollary to that is the algorithms and the capabilities on the other side has also really come into its own. When you bring those two together, so you've got the algorithms and things, and the ability to train and do those things at both of those things happening at the same time, it makes possible the application of this technology in a way that simply wasn't previously. Most organizations, the last thing that they were going to want to put in their data center is some beefy GPU-based machines that were going to be used every other day or whatever it was, get minimal utilization out of it, except when it was actually training a model. Well, now, the cloud and the cloud, the providers like Amazon and Azure and Google, actually, you can just rent that on demand. We're going to use it for a couple of hours each day, and hey presto, now we're going to get much better value out of that. And it opens up new possibilities that simply weren't there before.
Well, I mean, as you've just said and touched upon there, the kind of pace of change is rapid, isn't it? To such an extent where the kind of human component is kind of falling behind, isn't it, a little bit with this skills gap in tech? How big an issue do you think this is at the moment?
It is significant. It's significant when you look at, we're trying to change in the enterprise, and we know that AI and ML has got great possibilities now, but in order to apply it, organizations need to have that set of skills, and it starts actually with a layer of data literacy within an organization. It's one thing having a team of data scientists who are able to do the machine learning and apply it. There's absolutely an issue getting enough of those people, but within organizations, you've got to have that fundamental data literacy across the organization as well. And that's one of the things that organizations need to be encouraging people to understand, and universities need to be providing that to the graduates that we've got coming out. If you're a data science graduate, a statistics graduate, or whatever, you're going to have that level of data literacy. But the economics and business graduates today need that fundamental capability as well. If they don't have them, then the organizations that they work for simply aren't going to have the wherewithal and even the capacity to envision how they could apply these technologies, if only they could get the data scientists and data engineers to build these things for them. So the universities are certainly doing a good job in trying to refocus now on to giving us people that are literate in AI skills and ML. So they're doing their part from that end, but the vast majority of organizations, the number of graduates that you've got coming in is actually very small in comparison to the incumbent organization. The upskilling of the incumbent organization is one of the things that organizations really need to focus on. That research that we've done, that has indicated, we have more than half of businesses not being able to, or not having that set of skills in house now to execute on an ML strategy. So the gap that there is there means that you've got to upskill people that you already have. Universities are certainly playing their part in making that available. There's lots of the MOOCs, the Udemy's, and those kind of things, which actually are a great resource for many organizations to actually push their people to upskill while they're in place. Just having that awareness of the possibilities, and then saying, okay, well, some of those people will become specialists in much the same way as in an organization. Historically, you'd get most people would know how to use Excel, and one or two people would become the power users of Excel. I think we'll see the same kind of thing emerging in the data science world, that organizations end up with people that are fundamentally aware of the capabilities, but then there are going to be a few people that are really the experts in applying that. And of course, not only is there the that skills gap in terms of actually being able to apply the technology, whether it's programming, generating the code to do these things, But there's also then the next step on from that, which is the ethics and bias, which is a fundamental challenge for the application of these technologies. Anytime that you are dealing with real people and the lives of real people, it is something that does need to be very carefully thought about. If the classic examples in the US that we've heard about of, okay, you do visual profiles of criminals. Well, in the US and many other places, the profile of criminals tends to be predominantly one particular ethnic group, for instance. So just by then training a machine learning model, if you use that representative sample of in the US, what would happen would be that the chances of you being a criminal, if you happen to be male, in your 20s or 30s and of African American origin, would be very high. And that is a bias which can be propagated forward, which is inherently wrong.
I mean, it also touches upon the role of women in tech as well, doesn't it? Because obviously they're, running at a much lower percentile than men. Some people have pointed to, trying to attract more women into tech as well to try and affect the bias a little bit.
Yeah, and it's having that ability to understand what's going to influence these things. What are the things that need to be thought about in the preparation of the data for training into models and those kind of things? That's a fundamental skill, which I'm not sure that even having a low code platform, a very productive platform, is going to give you. That is some inherent things that we need to have, like the data literacy, that the needs at this point to be trained for. As we go forward, obviously, the more productive that we can make the people that are trying to apply the technology, and doing that, with a low code, no code type platform, where you are using that phrase, democratizing the availability of the technology, where you make the technology intuitive and usable enough for that a wider group, a wider audience can actually deliver on that development type environment, to actually deliver the results. That starts in the preparation of the data, because going into applying machine learning, the data does need to be prepared, formatted in a way that the algorithms are expecting it. And that is a very flat and wide structure of data, with the data features, the things like the dates and those kind of things, extracted into a form that is meaningful to the algorithm. If we can actually get more people to be able to do that, then the vast majority of the time that data scientists today are spending on that preparation of the data is going to be reduced, giving them actually more time to be productive with the magic that they can work with the algorithms that today have become available. And those things are iterating very quickly, with the research going on inside predominantly universities. And here at SnapLogic, we're actually lucky enough, we have a chief scientist who is also a professor at USF, the University of San Francisco. And he actually is involved in teaching a master's class there, and so we actually have a number of the master's students each year join us to do their internships, and USF, as it turns out, is one of the leading universities in the US for their data science course. And organizations, enterprises, should be trying to forge relationships with universities and those kind of things. We're lucky enough to actually have been in a position that Greg has been with us now for something like 9 years, and has been a constant process for us, that he's always bringing in this new blood. He's always bringing in these new thinkers that are applying the current sets of technologies, and that enables us in a way that had we not had people coming with those fresh ideas, some of the AI functionality that we've added to our platform wouldn't even have existed without that interaction. And so that has been a particularly productive relationship for both us and for the University of San Francisco, in that their students are getting access and exposure to very much the enterprise world, where this technology is really primed for a major impact.
I mean, we talked there about organisations upskilling the existing workforce and adopting low-code platforms. What do you think the biggest challenge is to organisations, even if they decide that this is the road they need to go down?
Amongst the things there, very much that basic data literacy doesn't exist in organizations today. That is one of the barriers to adoption. But once you've gone past that, it's simply the availability of people with the enterprise skills. The universities are producing people with the fundamental technical skills. Those do need to be translated into how can that be applied in an ethical and enterprise business way. There is a difference between academia and the enterprise world. In the enterprise world, more so than in academia, although academia is changing, there does have to be a value associated with any of the work that gets done within an organization. In the academic world, it is valid to spend time evaluating and not coming up with a result. The pure research.
And in terms of the, we've talked about artificial intelligence and machine learning. How do you kind of see that space changing over the next sort of 2 or 3 years, and how it's going to affect enterprises even further?
Well, I think we see the risks associated with it. With the recent publicity that has been around about the court case that the young man in I think it was Cardiff, who was being video identified. That is the application of this technology. There is a risk within enterprises that this gets tarred with a very negative brush, and that has some risk for organizations if during the process of applying the technology to identify the people on the phone are they talking in a happy voice? Are they talking in an angry voice? The scope for those things to end up as have it being maybe abused, maybe not abused, but taken in the wrong way, and actions taken based on those things. So I think there is certainly risk to organizations from a perspective of social responsibility. Any organization that is dealing with end users does need to be aware of that. But the on the other side, if you are dealing with things like predictive maintenance, for instance, the value that can be gained within an organization to use the technology is very significant. If you can improve the efficiency of your assets by a small number of percentage points, if you happen to be in the retail industry or the telecoms industry, even points of points is going to make a significant impact on the bottom line of an organization. So where these things can be applied to the non-human workflows, there is definitely some really big value that can be had out of them. It is not just the human interactions that can be improved. It is also the fundamental things that running the factory. This is the value of IoT, for instance, and all of the data that Internet of Things world is going to generate. If you can actually apply machine learning to that data to get value out of it, I don't think as a whole we have seen the value out of the Internet of Things come about yet. And I think now that we start to get the techniques like machine learning, which we can then apply in things like preventative maintenance, predictive maintenance, those kind of things, now that's where we start to get real value for the enterprise out of these things.
And obviously we're talking about machine learning, artificial intelligence, automation, but from a number of points you've made, obviously people are pretty much still integral to this space.
Absolutely. Although we at SnapLogic use the machine learning functionality to actually build into our product to make it more productive for our users, as well as offering our users the technology to apply to their data to make their business more efficient. But the business of integration is how we apply it, and the reason that we can is that we have that cohort of data, which is the metadata that our users are generating in building pipelines and using the user interface. It's based on that cohort of data that we can then make our users more productive in using our product. Virtuous circle there. And always trying to identify where you can generate a virtuous circle. The fundamental way that the SnapLogic platform itself was built was as a SaaS platform, where all of that metadata is stored in the SnapLogic cloud. Now, we have that metadata. We can now analyze it and apply machine learning to it. As it happens, we have the skills in-house to be able to do that, and then make adjustments in the way that our product works to deliver more productivity, even more productivity to the users of SnapLogic, so that the value of our product itself continues to increase. I think in looking forward to where we're at with ML and AI today, I do think that we are scratching the surface. Today, the algorithms are. I'm not sure immature is the word, but they have a long way to go. That they can, that we can actually build upon them. So today, there's all these algorithms, and you've heard of things like XGBoost and convolutional neural networks. Well, what a business needs is not someone that can talk that language. They want to, how can I apply the technology to improve my top line, my bottom line? What are the things that I can do to the business processes? So if I've got a quote to cash process, how does this improve my quote to cash process? And I think in the coming months and years, what we will actually see happen is that the pre-built patterns of the algorithms are going to be the low-level code in much the same way that assembler and 3GL type languages are the foundation of what we do in building applications today through drag and drop. The same is going to be true as we see the algorithms that are available today will be the foundations of this technology in the future. And it's got to be translated into business values. And so it's going to have to be, I can use this technology to reduce churn in my customer base. I can use this technology to make the process of being able to fundamentally take an order or to process the order. Those things, that the automation of the enterprise is where we're heading, and the technology is going to head there with us. We need to drive it in that direction, there's a lot of the open source technologies and those things. They need to be channeled and focused on delivering business value. That's where it's going to take this from being a great academic idea to real value in the enterprise, which is what we need to drive.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Insight Podcast in association with theinterface.net and cpostrategy.com. The Digital Insight is brought to you by B2E Media Limited. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review, and don't forget to check out our podcast archive at www.b2e-media.com/podcast.